How you doing
Hey,
today, Sean?
I'm doing good. What are you drinking, Colin?
Today I am drinking water out of my water backpack,
Man,
just like an ultra runner would.
heck yeah, man. I'm drinking water also.
Oh, and then to get a little bit fancier, actually, I wanted to shout out to one of our not sponsors. I um I am drinking Athletic Brew. So what this is, it is a non-alcoholic beer, or actually it contains less than 0.5% of alcohol. But it's an IPA that tastes like an IPA but isn't alcoholic. Um,
Wow.
yeah, so when I did my Spartan race in Vermont, they they were sponsoring it, and it was just cool because I assumed it would taste like a 0% beer, which if anybody has ever tried one of those, they're typically not great, in my opinion. But this tastes like a real IPA. So I'm full runner ready right now.
That's awesome.
Do you want to get into a little bit about what is ultras? What are ultras?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, by the name Ultra Marathon, it's pretty easily self-explanatory, but it's just like almost an exaggerated marathon. So, I mean, a marathon is 26.2 miles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And an ultra marathon is a marathon that is a lot longer than that. Some of them are as short as 50 miles long. And then the longest one I saw was the 240 miler. Um, that's to date. I've heard people suggesting that they'd like to try longer, but 240 is the longest to date. And a very popular ultra marathon length is 100 miles. Um, so yeah,
Well,
and
personally, I feel like why why wouldn't we go further, right? I mean, at this point, we should probably just set a timer and see who can run until they die. And you know,
yeah,
like we should just have a I was gonna say 24-hour race, but that's not enough for these people.
no, I mean, some of them finish in more than 24 hours.
24 hours is a cakewalk. They're done. 24 hours, come on. That's
Yeah,
light work. That's a training run.
yeah. So I mean, obviously, like not a lot of people do this, but I mean, from what I saw, at least, it looks like maybe 100 people per race, sometimes a little bit more or less. I
Yeah.
know some of, for example, Badwater, um, which I think was a little bit more than 100 miles. I think there's only been like 900 people ever to finish the race.
Jeez.
Just because it's so common in these races, there's do not finish um, placings. Just because injuries come up or different situations come up where people can't finish them. And Colin and I both have spent a large amount of time in our life running, running in high school, college. We both did cross country. Uh, Colin's done an actual marathon, right?
I did the Philly Marathon. So that was the year. So basically, we can talk a little bit about this because I feel like it's super important to address because I feel like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people never bring up the fact of what it's like to be a college athlete. And the day after PSACs for us or championships, there's nothing. Like you're done, dude. Like
Well,
Sean,
yeah.
400 hurdles. I personally, I don't think you're ever going to enter a 400 hurdle race again, unless you want to do one of those weird summer leagues.
I don't think they're even there is none that you could do.
Yeah, and I can
Like,
tell you for free, I'm not running the 800 on a track ever again. I'm not going to do it. I'm just not going to do it.
yeah.
So,
So
natural progression, where do we go? People tend to go to the marathon, or they don't run anymore, or they bike,
yeah,
or they do
a
like
lot of people
Spartan
bike.
races and weird thing like
Yeah.
that. But
Um,
yeah, I trained for the marathon, and I feel like this topic is like so good for us because
yeah.
like when I'm reading some of these stories, I'm like, geez, like these people, like they make sense to me, and I
Hmm.
know some people that are just absolutely like wild. Like some of my friends from college that still run that do like 150-mile weeks or something like
Whoa.
nutty, or
Yeah.
even more, honestly, and they still train like they're racing, which is wild.
Yeah, well, I mean, so many people like I didn't know what to do when it was over. I was like bored.
Yeah.
Like you need a challenge, you need something else to do, and I mean, ultra running isn't really what everybody does, but the craziest of the people seem to do this.
You want to do something nuts? Go ahead and run an ultra because that
Yeah.
shit is wild.
Mhm.
But at the same time, like when I heard about it, I was like, I mean, maybe. Like that was my first thought. Was like, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe. That sounds like a
Well,
good
like
challenge.
yeah, it's like the challenge, and I would want the clout, you know?
Oh,
Like
for
I
sure. If I could tell someone like, yeah, I ran a 100-mile race, it would be something that I would just like offhand bring up. I'd be like, oh yeah, just one time I ran 100 miles, just cause.
exactly. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and most people don't finish the race that I ran, so like whatever. I'm a
Yeah.
badass.
Yeah.
Well, I think okay. Another way that this kind of parallels is I feel like you can't have a full-time job and train. So
I the person who we're going to talk about, Courtney Dowwalk, DAU Walter. I don't know how
yeah,
to say it.
Walter,
Dowwalter. She had a full-time job
really
for many years, but then she just left her job.
to train.
Yes, to train.
So Sean, during college, easily how many hours a day do you think we spent practicing?
I mean, like 2 to 3.
2 to 3, easy. How often would you say you were thinking about running during the day?
I mean, it's like all day.
It's not like an that like 2 3 hours that I'm at practice. It's like wake up, what am I eating for breakfast? Will it provide me with enough
Yeah.
nutrients for practice? You're going to class, you're thinking about what time practice is at, you're thinking about like
Hmm.
making sure you're not using up too much energy. You're trying to like be
Well,
like
yeah.
do I snack now? Am I hydrating enough? Eating like an
Yeah.
appropriate lunch, and then you're at practice, you're lifting, which a lot of like ultra people do. They have to cross train,
Hmm.
and you're running, and then you finish practice. First thing you're thinking about is how am I going to recover? What should I be eating? Showering. We're talking about contrast showers. We're talking about
Oh my God.
recovery, and then you're like, oh shit, like
Well,
I gotta
yeah.
get to bed because I gotta be ready for practice tomorrow. I gotta recover. I gotta sleep well.
Yeah.
So, and that was during college. Imagine trying to have a full time job and needing to do over triple the miles that we did in
Well,
a day.
this is the thing with this. I mean, you also have to live, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was thinking about this too. Yes, a lot of the ultra marathon athletes, they have that as their full-time situation now, but like they had to like prove themselves and run fast enough in an ultra to either get sponsorships, which some of them do have sponsorships, I found out.
Yeah.
Um, or to get some kind of career involved in that. Because I mean, like, how do you be a personal trainer for distance running without having that background?
Yeah. Well, so quick question. Do you know how much they make in a year?
No.
Because I don't think they make much money. Like
No, I don't think so either.
when you win a race, and what I was doing some research and I found out that they don't know a lot about it, like about
Mhm.
ultra running and how like the human body does like that kind of shit. But most of the studies are done like at a race. So they'll like weigh people at the race to like see, oh, like they lose, I think it's like 3 to 4% body fat loss. Like they lose weight over
Wow.
4%. And they're doing a lot of these studies in the field. And I'm thinking, slash, what I kind of read is they can kind of get away with doing these in the field studies because people don't make a shit ton of money.
Yeah.
So people don't blood dope for them. Like
Yeah.
they don't have any reason to cheat. They're
No,
there
exactly.
for the run and probably for some other reason. But they're like, because someone definitely like they most people that run ultras definitely are messed up in the head. Like they got some crazy shit going on in there.
Well,
um,
it's like they're there for themselves. They're there to like prove to themselves that they can do it basically, and they don't care about anybody else doing the race.
yeah, so they're like, look, I'm here to do it for me, so I don't really care. I'm not going to cheat. So
Yeah.
that's why a lot of the studies that they can do is like perfect. Where I feel like if you try to study like I would say a cyclist for the Tour de France, You
Yeah.
have the whole blood doping thing, and there's that whole thing with like Russia, and even with like
Yeah.
pretty much any Olympic sport, like people are gonna go and try and cheat because they want the Olympic gold, and they'll do anything they
Yeah.
can to get it. But with ultras, it's so different, and I feel like the whole community is like that too. Like they're all just
They
like
are.
super chill, like whatever kind of people.
Well, yeah, I mean, which is really cool too that it's that way.
Mhm.
And it's awesome that they can study them too like that. But I think you're right. The fact that there's not much money in it, and from one of the interviews I heard, the person who was the runner, like specifically was like, I couldn't, like, I do get paid from this from sponsorships, but I couldn't do it if like my husband or wife didn't have a good job.
Yeah,
So,
so I also was listening to an interview with someone, and I think the guy was like, "Yeah, I just decided to become an ultra runner."
mhm,
And I mean, he made money and stuff too, but he had like a wife, and he said like the reason why he did it is because he knew it's not that he had a safety net,
mhm,
it's just that he was like, I know like worst comes to worst, everything will still be fine because like I could just move home and live at home and whatever. So he
yeah,
like took the risk, became an ultra runner, and then a lot of the other people again, they're just training 24/7. So they kind of have to have some sort of backup.
yeah, exactly. So I mean, definitely like an interesting professional sport, if you can even call it professional. Because I mean, they're definitely like elite athletes, but like the ones that are paid, they're not paid enough to really be like, I'm a full-time professional athlete, really. It's like
Yeah.
you're lucky enough to have money somewhere else, whether it's your
So
spouse or what.
this other person, her name was Hillary Allen.
Hmm.
Her like code name, I guess, is what if you call it that, is the
Hmm.
Hilly Goat. That's her name. She's like a super crazy, like really good runner, and
Hmm.
she was running, and I forget what race it was. I want to say Leadville, but that's the only one that I
Yeah.
really know. But she fell off the course, fell like I want to say 100 feet, like something absolutely ridiculous, and somehow didn't die. And she
Jeez.
severely like injured herself, and it took her like years to come back from it, right?
Hmm.
But she ended up writing a book, and she was doing an interview, and like that's kind of how she makes her money. She has her website, she has her Instagram.
Okay.
But what I thought was crazy about her, and we were kind of talking about this earlier when you were talking about your run, is she said the hardest thing for her was knowing that she couldn't do something.
Yeah.
Like they were like, "Oh, every day she woke up and she was like, I'm getting worse at running because I have to recover." Like she had
Hmm.
to heal, like she couldn't run because her foot was broken, so she had to get around like cross training and things like that. And earlier today, you called me. You're talking about how you were like you're not feeling like 100%, and today you had to stop your run.
Yeah.
And she like the thing that she was talking about, which I thought was so crazy, is it takes so much for people that are competitive like us
Hmm.
to take a day off. And it's wild because it's so true.
Well, yeah, and especially these people too. Like, I mean, they're like, I mean, to run something like this and to train for it, it's like almost hard for me to imagine like the standards that you hold yourself to.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to like train for like a marathon, but like so many people do that. But to to set out to run 100 miles or longer, like there's so much like personal responsibility in that, and like you have to have such high standards for yourself that like I don't know, you have to be so uncomfortable with like not achieving your goals to like really do this, I think.
Yeah, one of the things that I heard in an interview, I think it was with her too, is that people need to be willing to adjust.
Yeah.
So, like, let's say you like, and it has to do with recovery and things like that. Like, you did like a killer workout and you're sore as shit, but
Hmm.
you had planned on doing a 30-mile run the next day.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be hard for you to say, well, I was supposed to do another speed workout day, but I need to take that day to recover. Like,
Hmm.
and on the fly, like halfway through your tempo workout that you're doing like a 50-mile run, if or like 30 miles, whatever, 20, 15, whatever, ton of miles. If you're
Yeah.
in the middle of doing that and you realize mid-workout that you're not going to be able to keep it at tempo pace because you're starting to feel the lactic acid and things like that, like you need to be so good at knowing your own body and strong enough to say, all right, I have to recover today.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because think of how many workouts where you did that you were like, man, I don't know if I should push it, but then you're like, nah, like I gotta push it, like I gotta do that extra rep, like I gotta
Yeah.
power through this.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think that's huge too. But like on like the topic of like adapting to different scenarios, that is what I heard like over and over again from the people who run the races. That mid race, there's always things that come up. Like stuff they like go stuff goes wrong, and whether there's weather changes or super difficult weather situations, or like it seems like they all have teams when they do it. It's
Yeah.
like one person will run, and for parts of the race, you can have people who can pace you for certain parts.
Mm.
And you can have people who like I guess like they can provide you food and stuff, you know. Like they basically
Don't they have like a
go ahead.
full ass team?
Yeah, like they have a whole team. Like food is like the race actually like some of them do provide food, the races. I heard too from the Moab 240, the 240-mile race, they actually provide beds, but nobody uses the beds because that would be
Bro, I'm not wasting time sleeping.
none of these people would waste any time sleeping. But at the same time, none of these people would I think they would have like too high of standards for themselves to be like, I trained for this race and you think I'm gonna lay in a bed mid race because I need sleep? No. They
Yo,
probably laugh at that.
talk about the interview with Courtney and her sleep.
Well, yeah, like so this is what I mean. Like you gotta adapt during a race. So she did sleep and her first nap, so her
First, the
claim to
race.
fame was the 240-mile race that she won. She did it in 58 hours, which is absurd to run for 58 hours straight. And during that race, second place was like something crazy, like 10 or 15 miles behind her,
Which
and
is like
finished.
10. That's like,
Yeah,
didn't they say it was like 10 hours or something?
it was something crazy, like yeah, 8 to 10 hours behind her, which is nuts too. That like you run a race and it takes you 58 hours, but then second place is 10 hours behind you. Like holy shit.
All right. Interim comment though, because so
Yes.
I ran the marathon in Philly, right? My sister's
Mhm.
apartment was literally like quarter of a mile from one of the like the areas that I run through. So
Yeah.
like not from like her main window, but from like the stairwell outside of it, you could kind of see where the traffic was going and seeing if people were still running. I
Yeah.
ran the marathon in like under 4 hours, like nothing like super fast. It wasn't anything crazy, but it was like respectable. And
Yeah.
I got back, I ate like a ton of pizza and I fell asleep, right?
Yeah.
So I woke up maybe 4 hours later and like I like took like a walk to see like where I was and I was like, "Oh wow, it's actually super close." There were people still running, Sean.
Oh my God.
For me, that was so much crazier because I was like, "Look, I was mentally tough enough to run like 3 hours and 44 minutes. But
Hmm.
to be mentally tough to run for 8 hours, like I don't care that they're running slower. The
Yeah.
fact that you can consciously be like, I am doing this for 8 hours straight is mind blowing. So to be like, oh, that person, the second place was 10 hours behind her, that's second place. Like
Yeah.
imagine the person that like barely finished in the time bracket. Like they were probably running for like 78 hours or something ridiculous.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, they've got to be. So, back to the story. So, in her 58 hours that she got first place in, she took two naps. And the first nap was in the back of the truck with like her team's truck, and they had like a sleeping bag back there for her. And she slept for like 20 minutes. And then she felt whatever, fine. Later on in the race, she was having all kinds of issues like exhaustion and stuff like normal, like you're running that much, you're gonna be fucking tired, you know. um And the guy running with her, her teammate, was like, why don't you just drop right here and take a nap? And she slept in the middle of the trail for literally 1 minute, she said, gets up, feels refreshed. During that minute, she claims that she had dreams too. Like,
Best minute of
some,
sleep in my entire life.
yeah, somehow she had like full dreams in that 1 minute, which is insane. And then gets up, feels refreshed, and is pumped up and finishes the race. 21 minutes of sleep for 58 hours of running.
Sean, have you ever pulled an all-nighter like as a kid?
Yeah.
How crappy do you feel?
Yeah.
And then what? You sleep for like 10 hours the next day and you're like, "Oh god," and you still feel terrible. Imagine like you're running the whole time you're awake. Then you sleep for 20 minutes and then you pull another all-nighter and then you sleep for a minute. Like
Yeah.
no way. No way. She said she was
Yeah. Well,
hallucinating too, right?
yeah, she was hallucinating while running. And then she also said that she had problems sleeping the next couple days too.
Yeah.
Which is that's just got to be your body on some type of like animal instinct mode at that point that you can't sleep, you
Yeah,
know?
you've literally it's your brain is probably hardwired to be like, I'm being chased and
Yeah.
murdered. And that's why you've been running for so long, because there's no other explanation on why you're still trying to run.
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what I mean. Like you probably like the fact that she couldn't sleep. She said she didn't feel normal for like 3 whole days. But the fact that you couldn't sleep for like the next couple days is 100% your brain and like something is wrong. We are too alert. We've been going for too long. There's no reason. Like we can't figure out why you can't rest, but you're not ready to rest yet.
Dude, okay, so my thing is the fact that she was like, oh, it took me about, so she finished on like Sunday or Monday, right?
Yeah,
And then she
something
was,
like that.
oh, it took me to Wednesday to feel normal. Uh, Excuse me? You know how
Yeah.
quick that you ran for like longer than it took you to feel recovered. Like that,
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, it took me about 2 days to recover. You were running for like 2.5 days straight, and
Yeah.
it only took you 2 days to recover, and you thought that was a lot. I'm like, no way. It would take me like a year to recover from
Yeah.
that.
Exactly. I mean, like, this is back to like the regular job situation too. You can't have a full-time job. What do you do? Oh, I'm running a race this weekend. I need Friday off. Oh, okay. You call your boss Sunday night. I don't know how long I need, but my body is messed up.
Yo, I just finished. I'm gonna put in a PTO request day for tomorrow because I'm not good. I didn't
Yeah.
I didn't sleep literally since midday on Friday. I've actually been running the whole time.
Yeah, well, and then you go back to work, what, that Thursday or Friday? Everybody's like, how'd it go? Like what do you do? Nobody can relate to you.
You're like whacked out. You're like, yo, like let's just go for a run real quick. Like I'm totally fine, but like let's like we got to do something.
Or you're like falling asleep at your desk all day.
You're sitting there and you're like, yo, does anybody else see that dude over there that's dressed like a clown, wearing and he's got like
Still
an elephant trunk?
hallucinating. Yeah. So the hallucinations are insane
Yeah,
that
they're
she was
nuts.
having. But then the other crazy shit is too, the last 12 miles of the race, she basically went blind, she said. She had like a whiteout type thing.
Yo, what gets me is she was just like, oh yeah, like this happens to people that wear contacts. Like, oh, this is no big deal. Like this happens all the time. She was like, that's not crazy to me. Like, and she's like, when I see the hallucinations, like I just wave to them. Like, do you thought the tiger was talking to you? Like, nah, I knew it was a hallucination, but it was totally cool.
Yeah. Well, they were saying it happens to multiple people. It's happened to her multiple times. It took her about 6 hours to get her vision back after the race too, which is insane, right? You finish a race, your friends, your family, your team who supports you are there. High five, man. I can't see right now.
Yo, I'm just not gonna be able to see for a couple hours. It's fine. And
Yeah,
then in the interview, they were like, "Yo, why don't you get LASIK?" And she's like, "Nah, it doesn't change anything. You'll still go blind." Like, what
yeah.
the fuck?
Well, and then it's like, are you gonna keep doing this? It's like, well, yeah, like I gotta keep pushing myself, you know? Um, like going into races, like since it happened the first time, I'm not really excited for the whiteout phase, and I hope it doesn't happen, but it happens. So you just kind of got to deal with it. But that's the mentality of so many of these people.
Yeah.
Like I mean they're just like this is the situation I'm in. I'm gonna like push through it. I don't care what it is. I'm finishing the race.
So you had mentioned right there, like long-term kind of ordeal,
Yeah.
right? Dude, so I looked this up because I'm like, yo, this is like someone's gotta get serious. Like, there's no way this is good for your body. So I was looking this
Okay.
up, and there are no long-term issues currently that people are aware of from running.
Okay, but from ultra running or just running?
Ultra running, yeah. It's
Okay.
actually been
Because like,
shown that people that do ultra running are more productive and have less doctor's visits, which
okay,
to me is crazy because I'm like, you're going to be getting injured, but these people don't get injured.
no, okay, I believe that they don't really get injured too much, but less doctors visits and would you say they're more productive? I believe that.
Yeah.
Think about the person who wakes up and says, "I'm going to run 100 miles. I can do it." Like, how many people in your life do you think tell them like, "Hey, that's a little bit of a crazy goal." Like, they all have spouses and everything. Like, they
They're
have
not
groups of
listening to anybody that
friends.
tells them they can't do it.
That's what I mean. Like, do you think they go to the doc? Like, she went blind in a race. Many people have gone blind in a race. And she finishes the race. Do you think she has some kind of ailment and it's like, maybe I should see a doctor? It's like, yeah, I'm running today. Okay. Sorry, my foot hurts. I'm running today.
She cuts off her leg and she's like, I'll cauterize it myself. Like, I don't need to go to the doctor for that. Like, it's fine.
Yeah.
This is like that one time I was running that really long race and something bad happened and I just dealt with it on the run.
Yeah, exactly. So I definitely believe that it is good for you. Like, I mean, running itself is good for you. So I feel like just I
Yeah.
mean, your biggest risk there is just like shin splints and stuff, stress fractures. But like, I feel
Um,
like heart health and lungs, it's really healthy.
in ultras though, there has been like hyponatremia, which is like I think it has something to do with your sodium, but it's basically like your kidneys aren't doing their job. Like you end
Oh,
up
yeah.
like you're taking in too much water. And like they don't let
Yeah.
out, and that's why they actually were weighing people during some of the field studies because they saw like if you aren't losing weight and you're gaining weight, it means your body's not like handling the water correctly.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of that's kind of interesting. I think I've heard of that before. What like people having like kidney issues because of the salt? Because you got to think you're sweating out so much salt that like you can't really just drink just water for the race,
Yeah. Well, the
Like
other
you got to
thing
have
is the guy that said that it was like during this interview was also like, yeah, sodium supplements also might be total BS. So like it's really just about making sure you're doing what's right for your body at the time. And I'm like, what
yeah.
is this guy talking about? So that was wild. Another thing that he also talked about was that the people that do this typically are addicts. Like a
Yeah.
lot of the times it's found that addicts are like really good ultra runners because running gives you that same kind of like high and
Yeah.
people can get addicted to it. So people with like addictive personalities tend to be runners. And I thought that was super interesting.
I do too. And I think I've heard stories of that of like more like triathlon people. Um like ex-addicts are like a big triathlon type community.
Mm-hmm.
Um but it's just like every time you're in one of those situations where you feel tempted to do something, like you just have that running
That
outlet.
running outlet. And
So then all of a sudden you're doing 100+ mile weeks because you're using that outlet.
yeah. Well, the other thing that I think is kind of it makes sense is like they talk about I feel like in like recovery places and things like that, they talk about having like a plan and everything like
Yeah.
that. And when you're running, like you're scheduling out your day. Like we were just talking about earlier, you have to like you wake up, you're like, when am I doing my run? How am I going to eat? Blah, blah, blah. So you're
Yeah.
planning out your whole day. So you like it sort of takes away from that time, like that, like you would be thinking about doing something else. And like you need to plan your workouts, you need to plan on varying your workouts, you need to be like more self-aware of your body.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think it's crazy.
I think it's pretty cool, but I think it makes sense completely. Like, I mean, you're
Yeah.
right. The runner's high, and the outlet, like the stress relief outlet too.
So question for you, Sean.
Yes.
Morning runner or evening runner? or
Okay.
middle of the day runner?
So my whole life, I was afternoon to evening, but that was because of the school structure, you know?
2:30 practice.
Yeah, 2:30 practice right after school ended in high school. College, we did the same thing. This year's my first year as a morning runner. Way better. I'm not going back.
Woo. When I was training
Yeah.
for a marathon, I was a morning runner.
It's just like you feel so much better going into the day, except for your long run days, because then you fall asleep by like 10 in the morning.
Dude, so I feel like it's good because you feel so like you feel accomplished before you even start your day. But at the
Yeah.
same time, I feel like that's a huge risk to already feel accomplished before you start your day. Because then you're like, I'm already successful today. Like, so what? I don't get something done at work. Like, I'm already successful.
I don't know. I kind of more think I don't think about it as like accomplishment. I think about it as like stress relief. Like whatever comes at me that day, like I already have like a runner's high. I'm
Yeah.
basically mellowed out because my legs are like pretty beat up and tired. So really it's just like how bad's it gonna be? You know? Like I'm sitting in this chair, my legs are jello right now. I feel great with the runner's high that I either
Mhm.
have now or currently had. Like it kind of just keeps my stress levels down.
So people take runs in the middle of their workday too, because their company will give them like an extra like
Mm.
30 minutes for lunch or something if you do an exercise. So that I think would also kind of work with your productivity
Yeah, so
and being like, more relaxed kind of deal.
wintertime when the sun is only out in the middle of the day, I would be
Mhm.
100% for that.
Oh, yeah. That is a good point.
Yeah, like I don't mind running in the dark if the sun is coming up, but like 100% of a run in the dark, I'm not a big fan of. And
I don't
like
like losing the light as I'm running.
yeah, like particularly like with ice and stuff in the winter,
Mhm.
not a fan of like dark in the morning.
Yeah, well, I feel like it's just dangerous. And well,
Well,
let's
yeah,
talk about that. Like during the ultras, they're running like 58 hours. They're running through the midnight.
yeah. So like there's pretty big temperature changes too in some of them because I mean some of I think Leadville is through the Rocky Mountains,
Yeah.
which is insane. I mean that's got to be freezing, right?
Mhm.
Whenever they run it. I mean if you're going up and down in elevation too, like it's got to be warm to cold. And then I think Badwater is
Yeah.
through Death Valley, California, and I think it gets way over 100 degrees during the race too sometimes. Which I mean, one goes back to the toughness of these people, which is crazy. I mean, I've ran in like 90 high, maybe like high 90s, like 100-degree heat. It sucks. It's not
Mhm.
easy. But that's
Yeah.
just like a regular casual run. Like that's not fun at all. To run a marathon, like an ultra marathon in that is insane.
So one of the things that I heard again on the like the training and shit is you actually have to. They said a lot of the times most runners actually will say like, yeah, the physical thing is nothing. It's all mental. But
Yeah.
when they do talk about the physical ends of it, a lot of the times they're saying like you don't need to worry about getting your mileage as crazy as you think you do. You need
Yeah.
to worry about training on hills and training in the heat that you're planning on racing in.
Yeah.
So they'll like vary their workouts to make sure that they'll run in the middle of the heat of the day so that way they can get that heat training in.
Yeah. So I heard that too about the miles, which I thought was really interesting.
Mhm.
Like a lot of them I heard do like 100-mile weeks. And I even like looked up a training plan and like I got like a beginner like finish the race for like 100-mile ultra marathon plan
Yeah.
where your biggest week was like 80 miles for that week.
Yeah.
I
I
don't know how accurate that plan is, but like 80-mile week isn't crazy. Like I
dude,
really thought it would be more.
I did an 80-mile week in high school. Like
Yeah,
my
that's
high school
crazy.
training, I'm pretty sure my high school coach trained us for marathons, honestly. Because
Yeah.
nobody was that great at the 5K. But we actually like the mileage he'd have us do, and this was like my freshman year, is like during the summer you'd work your way up to 10 miles every day.
Jeez.
And then you'd get like, and then I guess it might have been my sophomore year, it was like you'd start splitting up to do like 12 miles a day. And then you did that for 6 days a week. So I guess that was closer to 70-mile weeks. But yeah, I could run. I opened up, I ran like an 18 something 5K, like I think it was like probably 18:45, like not even sweating, but I could never drop under like 17:30. Like for some reason,
Wow.
like I was like I could do no work and get it done like the mid 18s, but I couldn't drop below it. And it was probably just
Jeez.
all that base. Like I had a huge base.
Yeah, I got that. So I did find that there was I mean there are some people who do more. So specifically one guy, Cameron Haynes,
Mhm.
he allegedly, I mean he claims that he does a marathon a day was his thing. It's
That's
like
wild.
26 miles every day of the week.
Yeah, he just crushes 4 hours a day, just maybe
Yeah.
3.5. And in 2:15 if you're really fast, like
Yeah. But and they say that's insane. Like
yeah, no way.
I mean, I don't even know what your week total is for that. I mean, well, I guess 25 times 5, 125, 150 maybe a week.
Yeah. When I trained for my marathon, would not recommend. I did 30-mile weeks. That
Yeah,
was
I'm training for a half right now and I'm doing 30-mile weeks. But I think I'm going to up that.
yeah. So mileage is again one of those things that's like it's different for each person and like
Yeah, it depends on the person.
so crazy. Why don't we talk a little bit about the headspace that people have to be in for running these?
What do you mean?
Like, I've heard that a lot of people, like during the run, you'll go into a dark place and you'll come out like on top. So a lot of people will actually run them just to get to that dark place, like to see if they can come out and become a better person.
So, David Goggins runs these.
Absolute madman.
But he's the prime example. And I think one of his interviews when he was asked about it, he was like, running is something that like I don't really like, but it just like breaks you down and it takes you to like kind of that darker place where you really find out what you're made of, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like that's why it's like a great thing to do because I mean it tests you.
I don't know, man. And then I also
But you're right, like
yeah, I don't know, like just the thought of having to go somewhere that dark and being like I'm excited for it. Like that's wild.
well, yeah, it is insane. It's like I don't know. I mean, some people like take pride in being like mentally tough like that, but
Yeah.
also I don't know. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the addiction aspect combined with like some type of need to like just feel something like crazy, you know? I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things that I saw was that it attracts a lot of people that are like dealing with depression because it's a good
Mm,
coping mechanism. Like a lot of times they're like, "Hey, like I don't want to take a medication." And they're like, "All right, well you should try running." And then people end up becoming ultra runners because they're like, "Oh, like it's a coping mechanism." And then they're all just going constantly.
wow.
And they feel
I
like
could
cuz when you're running, you're feeling great. And a lot of
Oh
like
yeah.
mental health studies have shown like exercise is better to make you feel happier.
Yeah.
So these people just like lean into it,
Yeah.
which is crazy to me. Just because I can't imagine, like, I just can't conceptualize that much running. I love running too, but
I do too. It's just like, but I can push myself and not do a 30-mile day. I can push myself and do like a 7 to 12-mile day or something and like feel amazing and feel like I got my butt kicked that morning.
mm-hmm.
So it's just
So
like I don't feel the need to do that.
another thing that I wanted to bring up, right? So I just mentioned
Yeah.
like there's those people that are always like depressed that are attracted to it. The other type of runner that I wanted to bring up is, so I was reading a book called Born to Run. It's about this Native American or Native Mexican tribe of like runners, but some of the people that race against them are like the type of person that like go out binge drinking the night before, and they're like, we're just here to have a good time. The tribe themselves, they also actually have like a light beer that they drink, and they just like drink like a ton of it. They have like a massive rager the day before a race, which I think is like hilarious because we always had our massive ragers the day after the race. But it was talking about how these people, like, there are some people that it's all like, again, it's the headspace. It always comes back to that. Is there are people that they're like, yeah, like I just get hammered, but like I run to have a good time. And like they love running so much that they're just like, yeah, like I'm just here to have a good time. And like sometimes I want to get hammered and go for a run, and like it just happens. Yeah, and there was like a crazy story about these people that totally just got absolutely trashed with the runners, and then they just like the next morning were like just vomiting, and then they get up and run. Like during college, there were kids like that though.
Yeah.
Like there would be times, and I'm not gonna say that there were times that I went to parties the day before a hard workout, and then you wake up at like 6 a.m. and you're like, all right, time to show up, time to see what we can do.
So those days too, I always thought of it as like testing myself, you know, how much can my body handle, you know? Like I didn't sleep a lot, but like, yeah, like those days, I'd also like push myself even harder too, because it was like we're running on a little bit less sleep. Like let's get up to the front of the pack.
Yo, and some of those days were your best workouts. So that's the thing that messes with me.
I know. It's like, insane.
And here's my thought. Maybe it's because those are the days that you just wake up and you're like, I have nothing to lose. Like I'm already down right now. Like I'm at rock bottom. Like no matter what's gonna happen, this workout is gonna be better than I expected. So I might as well just blast it. And like sometimes, dude, you come out on top. You run like you drop like a solid 300 time, and you're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Let a little bit of rust off on that one. Like, let's go.
Yeah, exactly.
You get out of practice, you're like, I'm not hungover anymore. I'm a god. Like, that's what's up.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, you want to talk a little about dieting? With this? So, I looked into a little bit of what these people eat. Okay, there is particularly one person, name is Zach Bitter or Bittner, something like that. But he's got the 100-mile world record for he did it in like 11 hours and 15 minutes. Yeah, so we just Colin and I took a brief intermission. We're back now. Had to restart our Google Meet thing because it runs out after a certain period of time. So we're gonna pick up where we were talking about food, and one particular athlete, which kind of has a crazy story. His name is Zach Bittner or Zach Bitter. I don't remember exactly how to spell it, but he's ketogenic and he swears by it. He also has the 100-mile world record right now, which is
insane.
Yeah.
So, Sean, do you want to explain a little bit of what a keto diet is?
You might have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that it's just like no carbs.
Yeah, no or low carbs, high fat.
Yeah, fat, protein. So it's basically like meat and vegetables. I guess fish too, right?
Yeah, and I think the goal is that your body becomes like really efficient at burning fat.
Yeah, because like stuff like the carbs, I think they get stored in your body. So like the more you eat that bread and stuff, it gets stored. But then like the keto effect would be like the high protein, high fat. Your body like gets rid of like the reserved fat that it has built up, and it runs off of either that energy or like the stuff from there, which is supposed to be way more efficient and better for you.
Yeah.
So that's the point of that. But he ran 100 miles in, it was like 11 hours and 15 minutes. And he did it on, it was like a 440-meter indoor track, which is crazy. It was like 360 laps of this,
Oh man.
which also at a low 7-minute mile pace the entire time, average, which is nuts.
Unreal, dude. That's flying.
Yeah, like if anybody is an argument to be ketogenic, it's this guy. Because I mean, that's so fast, and the mindset of this dude has to be unbreakable for that.
Yo, think about indoor races. I don't know if you ever raced the indoor 2-mile. I did in high school. The 3K. My bad. I know someone.
Yeah.
I know someone that's listening just got pissed off. It was the 3K. But I would lose track of laps. Like I think it was like 15 laps, and I would have to have like someone be like, "Yo, that was it." Like wave me in. I think the first time I ran it, I ran an extra lap because I was like in the pack the whole time, and then I ran it, and then all of a sudden everybody stopped running, and I just kept going. So I was like, "Ooh, shoot!" But I can't imagine 300 on that track. Do you think that it was 440 for more benefit, like a little bit longer? Because
I think that's just, I just think that's the track that was like, yeah, like we'll let you run at our indoor track all day.
Well, I think when they tried to break the marathon record, they were running on a mile dirt track or something. Not dirt, definitely was not dirt. I take that back. Time out. But it was definitely, I think it was a mile track. They tried running it on like a mile track, so it'd be like a little bit less turns and it'd be a little faster.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's such a weird situation that like it's just luck of the draw almost. Like,
so
if you're doing 300 plus laps, like who cares what the track situation is? Honestly, it's just
I do very much. I'm going to be around there 300 times.
Yeah, but like I wouldn't even be able to like really know the difference between like 300 and 400 laps.
Dude, I would want to do a workout on one of those tracks. I think Centritz does workouts there. There's like a track that has like a forest in the middle of it. So you're like running and you're like in nature. Yeah, it looks super cool. But I would prefer like a track like that if I'm doing 400 laps. Also, like 11 hours, you're going to go to the bathroom.
So like, he said that he did stop twice.
He stopped twice. For how long?
2 minutes each time.
Sloppy.
But you're right. You're going to have to go to the bathroom. And what's your opinion on just letting it happen?
I am full-fledged. Let it happen if you're going for a world record.
Yeah, I agree. Like,
I think there's no chance.
You got to piss yourself. You're running an indoor track. You're doing 100 miles, 7-minute mile pace. Like, you're really moving. Who really cares if you pee?
Dude, 11 hours though. Like,
do you really think, like, at an indoor track, a lot of the time, like, the bathroom will be, like, in a separate hallway? Do you think that he, like, walked off the track mid-race to go to the bathroom, or did he just, like, pee in, like, a cup or something, like, off to the side? Right? No track has, like, super easy access to, like, a bathroom, I feel like.
I think he had to have walked off. 2 minutes is a very long time.
Well, he might have ate something, too, during that time.
Per stop, you said, right? So he had 2 stops?
Yeah, 2 stops. He said 2 stops. It was about 4 minutes total that he wasn't running.
Did he eat?
You have to eat.
So would he have like his wife, girlfriend, boyfriend, significant other sitting there waiting for him, just like, hey, here, take a munch?
I don't know. Like, I feel like there's got to be something that you can eat while running.
Right? Or you beer mile it and you just take 10 meters to just start munching and then you toss it and keep going.
Well, that's what I would think to do. I'd be like I'm not stopping to eat. Like
100, if I was peeing, I would do like a walking pee. I would like sideways walk and just let it go so it's not in my lane, and I would just pee, and then I'd like pull it back up and just. I would not be walking to anywhere. I wouldn't be stopping to pee in a cup. I'd be moving while peeing. I'm going for the world record. I'm not slowing down. I'm not stopping.
Maybe you like run off on a straightaway into like lane 3 or 4 for the
Yeah, he was
straightaway,
running the
and
lane
just let it go,
just
like
wide
a
leg
couple
running.
lanes over. Yeah, yeah. Like I I don't know. It's just like how do you just? I can't imagine that indoor track. Hey guys, keep the clock going. I'm running to the bathroom over there. Just make sure it's open.
Yeah, I can't imagine though. Like, what made him think, you know what? I should do 100 miles on the track, like a 440-meter track. Like, why not? Like, there's
I
got
don't
to be
know.
like running around like a horse track or something, or like a car track that's like larger.
Well, easier access to a regular track.
But honestly, if you're going for the world record and like you have some like clout in the running community, I feel like you could easily be like, "Hey, I want to run on your NASCAR track. I have
Yeah,
evidence that I'm very fast and I'm going to break the record. Sponsor me."
yeah. No, I think that's a great idea for the actual day, but at the same time, I understand why he would do it on a 400 track because he's probably training on a 400 track.
Oh, that's true.
So it doesn't change his training at all.
It's like clockwork, baby. You locked
Yeah.
in and you just go. I like to picture that this is his local track. like it's just like down the road. He like jogs there to do workouts and he's like, yeah, like called up Guinness, was like, today's the day, baby. Today's the day.
Yep.
Going for the 100.
So I did hear that like workout wise, he'll do like regular running during the week, but then like Saturday, Sunday, he'll like load up like 30 miles a day.
Jeez.
Yeah. So like 60 miles over the weekend, but just like 30 a day.
You think he takes the day off or no?
I don't know. I feel like you got to. How
At
do you
like
run 60 miles and not take a day off on Monday?
he probably takes like 1 day a month off. Like that's it. That's all he needs.
Yeah,
He's not
probably.
So I've got a little fun story.
Yeah, let's hear it.
All right. So ultra running itself. Now, most of our listeners are probably wondering, Sean, who decided that this was a good idea? Like natural progression, do you think someone was running a marathon and they worked their way up or what? But in the truth, I think it was about 40-something years ago, 45 years ago, that this whole thing started. A little over 45 years. But the Western States 100 is where it started. And that's actually, it was a horse race, right? And then one day, this guy shows up on the thing. I think his horse went lame, which means that like it like broke a leg or something like that. It couldn't run anymore. And the dude showed up and ran it himself. Like he was just like, well, I guess I'm going to do this myself. Like I'm not going to not run. And like he already entered. And then he did the run. And he actually finished like not in last.
Wow.
Yeah. So
That's crazy.
Yeah, like he didn't come in last. And then the person that was like in charge of it was like, "Hey, you can come back next year, like if you want. Like you're invited to run from now on." And then he was like, "I guess I'll just train next time."
Yeah. Wow.
Isn't that wild?
That is insane. The fact that he beat somebody who was on horse too was nuts.
Yeah, he beat a horse. Well, so this kind of actually makes sense to me in like a weird way because once I heard this, I was like, "There's no way." Like, I'm sure the story is way more in depth about what the guy did.
Yeah.
I didn't really look it up, but I again, it was in the Born to Run book, and I was just like, "Oh, that's kind of a cool story."
Yeah.
But if you think about it, it kind of actually makes sense because people were originally built to hunt.
Yeah.
Right. So what they would do is they would like sneak up on something, throw a spear, and then they'd chase it down. And then eventually the animal would like outrun them and then try and hide in a bush. And basically the way humans were able to hunt is that they would just keep chasing it down until it couldn't run anymore.
Yeah.
So its body would overheat and then it would die. Whereas the human would like run and they're like, I don't know what it's called, like homeostasis or something. The body would readjust, but the animals wouldn't be able to adjust as fast. So they had to slow down. So it kind of makes sense on why people were able to naturally do it and keep up with them. So that was kind of cool. And then again, that there's this indigenous tribe called the Tarahumara that lives in the barrancas and drinks like a light beer and runs. And they're apparently like no crime society and like literally the perfect like world.
Oh my God.
I was like, that is so cool that they have like a community that's like that. And like throughout history, they've came in and raced against people. And I think they held the record for a few of the courses in like the 100 mile races for a while, back in the 90s.
That's really cool.
So it's cool. It was pretty awesome. Sean.
Yes.
Why would you ever run a 100-mile race?
I'm going to say yes.
You're going to say yes?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes.
All right. Well, wait, let's also talk about, so timeout. There is a Disney race that I was talking to Sean about this earlier that I really want to do. And since he just told me that he's going to do the ultra, we're actually going to sign up together and we're going to do the dopey, which is it starts out, it's a 5K, and then the next day it's a 10K, the following day it's a half, and then the last day it's a marathon. And you get a free entrance ticket into Disney World afterward.
Yeah.
And now that I know Sean is willing to sign up for an ultra marathon, we are definitely.
Wait. You said, would you ever do one? And you didn't let me explain myself.
Oh, that's because we don't need an explanation, Sean. We're signing up for one now.
Okay. I would definitely do the Disney thing. It's 49 miles, right?
Yeah.
It was like 49.8 miles or something like that.
That's not even crazy, dude.
That's nothing. Come on. So I don't ever want to be able to rule something like that out, you know? Like
what do you mean?
Like, I don't want to ever rule out like an ultra marathon. Do I think that I would have the flexibility with my job to run hours and hours a day? Maybe that would be really difficult, but at the same time, it's like, would I rule it out? No. Like, do I think one day, right now, do I want to do it? No, but like, could I see myself doing it one day? Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. I think I would also do it, but I definitely don't think I'd do it alone. I think that is my number one. I'm not going to say I wouldn't do it alone because part of me definitely wants to do it. But right now I have a broken toe, so it's not really reasonable to train.
Yeah.
And if I didn't have a broken toe right now, I'd probably be trying to crush like 100-mile weeks. So I'm really glad that like this is a good time for me to be talking about this because otherwise I get way too hype about it.
Yeah. Well, I've been thinking that too all week. I've been like jacked up to run.
Be like, hell yeah, there are people that do 100-mile races and I'm only doing 13. I can do this no problem, no sweat, light work.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know. I think it would be a crazy like life experience.
Yeah, I see. That's like one of the things is one, you got bragging rights, like
forever,
infinite bragging rights, and two, I just feel like it's such. Like you'll have an experience. Like everybody that runs is pretty much like, I had some sort of something that was like, wow. Yeah. And most people do it again. Like they don't just do one.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Like it would be like such a crazy experience. And then also like to push myself that hard would be insane.
Oh yeah.
Is it happening in the next 2 years for me? Probably not.
Maybe.
Maybe the Disney World thing.
Maybe the Disney World thing. You heard it here
Not a 100-mile race, though.
I feel like if you're training for the Disney World thing, you gotta you could be doing 70-mile weeks, and I feel like you could get away with it. Like if
Well,
you
yeah,
work your way up to 70-mile weeks, that's half your mileage for the week over 4 days.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think it's doable. If anybody is listening that has done an ultra marathon, please email us at the WYSK podcast@gmail.com and let us know what you thought and how it went, because we are very interested.
Oh, yeah. I'd love to hear about somebody's experience. That'd be so cool.
Also, let us know what you thought of the episode, because as you know, neither of us have run over 26 miles, 26.2. So I'm interested to find out if anybody is a collegiate runner. Feel free to email us too, because we had some crazy experiences, just like you guys probably did. That's really what you should know about ultra running. Sean, do you want to tell everybody what our next topic is? I
don't know what it is yet, Colin. Do you know what it is?
No, neither do I. I was just seeing maybe you'd pop something up. Guys, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Apple Podcast. Subscribe for Spotify. Please like us. Tell us your friends. Tell your friends about us. You could tell us about your friends too, I guess.
If anybody is interested in sponsoring us, we are open to that also.
Yeah, you got a little teaser of what it would sound like. Remember Athletic Brew from earlier in the podcast?
I'm going to go out and buy some because that was such a good basically advertisement for it.
Honestly, if I had to rate the beer, I wouldn't know it wasn't alcoholic. I'd give it like a 8.5. 8.5 for an IPA, that's not bad. Out of 10.
The most natural sounding advertisement I've ever heard in my life.
They're really not sponsoring us, but if they want to.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thanks again for listening.
Cheers.
Cheers. Good night.
Yes.
Hey, guys. Welcome to What You Should Know podcast. I got my little ultra training. Today I brought my water. Got my water ready to go because this is what the real runners do.